Today I'm going to show you the SDLC process around Formal CMP. We will look into the API playground, which is basically the case tool. We will see how we set up validations in the API playground, and we will see an API and UI demo in which we will see how the same validations that we will get as return for any failures or any fields on a REST call, we will see them on the UI. So let's start. So we will start with the SDLC process over Formal CMP. Basically, what we have and how do we do it is whenever you design a form or import that form, when you import it, the status over that form it's in memory. The reason of that it's because it's only in the cache. It has not been persisted into the final configuration files. As we know, Formal CMP saves everything inside configuration files. So while in memory, these are not persisted yet. After you are sure that this is what you need, you change that to draft status, and then it can be persisted in your configuration files to continue the SDLC process by changing the status on the forms. So that's how Formal CMP manages SDLC process. I'm going to show you right now how it is being applied. If you can see, we have two forms here. We can either delete each one of them, or we can go ahead and execute a clear cache completely, which I just did. And I'm going to refresh, and you will see that we do not have nothing. So everything was in the in-memory module, which means it was temporal. It was not persisted in the configuration files. So I can use this as a playground for testing purposes. And whenever I'm ready with anything that works perfectly for my requirement, then I can change the status and flash cache. And what it will do, it will persist those resources into your asset library to be used in any other environment, hopefully in production. So let's start. That was basically how we manage SDLC process. Now we are going to move to see the API playground. We will be setting up validations, and we will be doing the API UI demo. And these are the details. We will create a form from the database table with reverse engineer. We've been working over a table called employee. We will continue working on that one. As we can see, we don't have it. So I'll show you everything on how we work around that. So I'll start importing the form resource based on the table that I have already in my server, but on different database. So here we go. Reverse engineer. It shows me all the tables that I have in different schemas on the same server. And by clicking import asset resource, the generation of that form has happened. It's what I have in front. So now the next step will be start using the playground so that I demo how it benefits you. First, I will start assigning a field as ID. Uh, right now, if we see here, we don't have any field as ID. How do I know a field is an ID? You will see a mark here stating that. So let's do that over the empid field. This will be my index over my table. So I'm going to assign the isID attribute over this form. I hit update. So what you're seeing here is the playground basically. Okay, so now we can see it is an ID. This means that whenever we execute the create table command over this form resource, because we plan persistent records into a table, that's why we will proceed that way. So whenever we do that, the field will be created as an index field, so it does not accept duplicates. So that's one attribute assigned. Let us start creating a button so that we can see the problems we may have and how we fix them. So new action, I'm going to be creating the button to save records into the employee table. You might have already seen this functionality in other videos. This is more like an order video in which you can see the benefits over using your API playground. So bear with me, please. Again, the button that will execute JavaScript, the save method will be called through JavaScript. I'm gonna assign which one do I like? Let's say this one. Okay, so right now we have, as I said, this imported into the in-memory module. The name of the form is employee. The order is one. The event in which I want this to appear. I'm going to change this event so that we see what happens when this is incorrect. What we will see is we will not be able to see the button when I execute the form in runtime. The reason is the events that get executed when we use any of these options in this menu is the new event. So since it is not set here, it will not appear, but we will fix it once we see the error happening. So again, the button, it's button to save employee. This will help us, the observation will help us whenever we create the documentation over any solution that we build. That's why it's important. The instruction is what we will see here whenever this successful execution of this button happens. So what it would say is employee saved correctly. Okay, and we will hit save. So there we have it. Now I'm gonna see how this button looks, which we will not see because we have an error and we will fix it. So we don't see the button yet. I'm gonna fix the error. The error was the event over the button to be shown, which is here indicated. It is the update event. So since I'm executing the new event, it does not match. It has to match. Means I want it to be displayed when the new execution executes. Okay, so I have changed that and fixed that error. We will see. Okay, now we have the button right here. So I'm gonna show you real quick the errors we have. Okay, it's stating the first one, the table does not exist. So how do we fix that? We go back to resources, we execute create table, and from there we have it built. And if we execute once more the form, we will see that the table non-existence error message is happening. Now we are having others. It's stating that MPID requires a number. So we are going to be fixing by setting up some validations over these fields. Here we go. And those validations will be a value will be required. And how do we do it? We just click here and we will update. We will see this in execution mode once more, and we click save. And what happened was that this value, since it's required and was not provided, then we are having this as a failure. The same validation should occur here on age and salary, because if we don't do it, what will happen is the following. Let's see it. So now it's saying that the MPID needs a number. So let me provide it. And we will see again the same error messages we're having here in correcting. We will see them over age and salary. The reason is age does not accept text. It requires an integer value, and also for salary. So how do we fix that? We can also set those values as required, those fields, by going into design mode over each one of those. And as you can see, the asterisk on the left-hand side will tell you which ones are required. So I'm gonna put this as required too. And as we will see, now it's required. Also, I want the name to be required. What happens when, well, I'm going to show you first what happens when a value such as this one, I'm going to remove required just to show you some things that will occur in case you don't set that up. So now if I try to insert, what will happen is, since this is required, it will not let me move on, and also this one, I'll put some correct values over them, and I'll try hit save. We will see errors over this salary field saying that you require to input a number. So the idea today is to show you the same validations that I have assigned, and when they fail or when they succeed, to show them through the API call. So that's what I will do right now, just to show you what happens with the errors. So, well, I'm gonna put this, well, I'll show you. First, we need to get the UUID. Here we go. Because the API requires the UUID of the resource you want to work with. So here is, I have set up this already. I'm gonna update the UUID because it changed. So the MPID is 4, and what I'll do, I want to have an error happening, which will be, let's see, I'm going to show you the duplicate error. So first, I'll put this as required. There we go. And also, I'm going to show you real quick what happens when the required validation is fulfilled, but we are getting we are trying to insert wrong values, integer characters into an integer field. We will get errors stating an integer is required instead of those provided values. So we can also fix that by adding an additional validation. And that additional validation, what it will do, it will validate that only numbers are entered. So we will be doing that for each one of the fields that are numbers. In this case, integer type on the database table. So as we can see, here is the validation. So we're only missing salary. And there we go. So if we see here, the validations have been set up, the required attribute has been set up, the ID over the field has been set up. So we're all set, and we are going to see the validations that we get to see on screen, but also through the, this one has not been set as required. Let me set this up as required. And I was saying that the same validations we are seeing here, we will see them through the API call. Remember, our case tool, basically it's a client that has been integrated on Foremost CMP platform through Foremost CMP API. So everything that I'm being able to do through this case tool, you should be able to do it, since the integration will be the same way through REST API on your own platform. So here are the errors that we will be seeing when we execute a call with the same empty values as we saw on the UI. If you see, the UI has empty values and it's saying a value is required. So I have empty values. I have updated the UUID. Remember, command name is save. Why the command name is save? Because that's what this button represents, the save. If you recall, the command name that's being executed with this button, which I just showed you on execution mode, is the save command. So this is the save command that I want to execute through the API. That's why it has to be set as save. So this is how I confirm to you that the API playground of what you design inside the case tool will allow you to test your API perfectly. So while you design your UI, you are creating your testing UI, which at the end you will reuse that once you integrate through REST API the design elements and also the data API. So you get everything out of the box with Foremost CMP that easy. So we will continue working on this button. As I say, it's executing the save method or command. And I was to show you that the same error messages that we get on the API, you get on the UI, and the UI on the API. As I said, the reason our case tool is integrated with the same API that I'm showing you right now, and it will be integrated into your own platform through this API. Okay, so I'll hit send, and here we go. These are the results. What this is saying is we go into the fields, and you are getting the same errors that we are having on the UI. valid false, error, a value is required. This is what you get to see when we execute the form and hit the save employee with no values entered. So here we have it, the same behavior. And if you render the source code for this field, what you will see is the same thing as the UI, a value is required, which it's stated right here. So basically the source code will allow you to render the field in your UI with the error already. So you don't have to worry about it. This is done for you. So I'm gonna proceed with some other errors. Let's say we fulfill the, let's say the number is C01 and we put Frank as name and the age maybe 40 and he earns $40,000. So I'm gonna hit save and what we get here is the validation does not comply, means it's not a number. I'm gonna put the same values on the API call so that we see that the same things happen. C-01, C-01, the name is Frank, the age is 40, the salary is 40,000. There we go. We execute send and we will see the MPID field, which is the one with problems. Here we are, MPID field, the validation failed. It says the validation does not comply with the numbers. The valid attribute false, error, the validation does not comply, which as I mentioned, if you render this source code, what you will be seeing is this that I'm showing you, same thing. So this is how your playground will let you test your complete API prior to integrating this in a final solution inside your platform. So we will continue. And now I'm gonna put a valid number, which will be 1, and hit save, employee. Okay, now it was saved correctly. We are going to go and look into the database. I'm gonna refresh. Here's the table, the contents. Here's the inserted record. Now, last test on the playground will be I'll try inserting another record with the same ID. Okay, here we go. Duplicated value MPID. If you recall, this is an ID field, so it does not allow duplicates. As I say, in your database, the primary key becomes any field that you put the ID attribute on it. Okay, so when the Formula CMP platform creates the table for you, it will search for those ID attributes on those fields and we'll put them as primary keys. So watch out with that. And so I was saying we are going to enter a new record here. And I'm going to show you the same thing that happens in terms of validation here when you try entering the same ID that you already have. And let's see, we had 23, the age. I'm gonna put 30 and leave 30,000 as salary so that you see them different. So I'm gonna hit send, and what we will get in the MPID, a notification stating that that value is a duplicate. So here it is. The valid is false. And again, if you render the source code, what you will get is the same field notification, duplicate ID. So now what I'll do is I'm gonna put 2, and if I hit save, it will be saved. I won't hit save. I will do it through the API so that you see that the API for saving new records is out of the box functionality. You only have to consume it. So now, how do we know that there were no errors? Is you gotta iterate over the fields collections and search for the attribute valid, and you will notice that this attribute over all the fields is true. That means that it was inserted correctly. And besides this, you will have a message which is a property or attribute on the form that the name of that attribute is instruction. So in that instruction, you will see that everything happened correctly. Here it is. Instruction, employee saved correctly. If you recall, this is what we set up in the save button when we create it so that it will trigger the save method from the CRUD functionality that comes out of the box inside Formus EMP. So I'm going to show you that message on the UI, different ID so that it works. And prior to showing you this, just going to show you the contents of the table so that you can see how this is updating. So now we have the two records we've been working with. I'm gonna enter a third one. This is all set. I'm gonna hit employee so that you can see the message here. The message you will see, as I said, is the message we set up on the save button. Let me show it to you. We go into edit mode and employee saved correctly. This is the same as your UI. Okay, so you also set up the messages. The record has been inserted. Now I'm gonna show you as the last point how you query for that data that's being inserted through the API over that employee resource. So I'm gonna save this call and we move to data. Here we go. I'm gonna update the UUID, these changes. And if I hit send, what I will see back is these 3 records. So here we go. I'm gonna move all the way down. All the way down, we have a page result. So here are the 3 records that we have been inserting through UI and API. I'm gonna quickly do another insert through the API. So we have 3 records. I'm gonna insert a 4th one. Here we go, 4. The name will be Luis. The age is 50 and the salary should be $50,000 too. So this is all set. I'll go ahead, hit send. It has been inserted. We will see it by querying the data. Okay, well, this failed. Let me see. I'm gonna update the UUID because that's the thing that always fails. And there's the call. And we are going to see how many records with the one updated, 4 records. Okay, there we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the fourth one was Lewis, 50,000, age 50. And just a final thing, version Formu CMP, since it allows you to have any number of versions of a same form, what it does is it always saves the version number of the form that was used to insert data. And that is so that whenever you want to show some data with version 1, it will show you the fields that are set up in that form for version 1. And if you added more fields and you end up having two versions of that form and you insert data with version 2 will be saved, and whenever you want to show data saved with version 2 form, you will see it with that version of the form. That's why Formu CMP saves version. That's all for today, and I hope you have fun learning, and these are the topics we just saw. Thank you for joining. Bye-bye.